Hi everyone, welcome to this week's episode of Mums on Cloud 9. I'm absolutely delighted to have Adele Hartshorn here, who's going to be talking to us about how to heal from trauma and really thrive as a woman. I'm a big advocate of this, having been through various bits of trauma myself, and we're going to be talking about what does trauma really mean and about how to get yourself back on that journey of healing yourself in order that you can actually just step out into your own game. And I've worked with Adele personally. I've absolutely loved her programs. It's been absolutely fantastic to go through this journey because, as I say, you really want to be able to thrive as a woman. And if you don't heal yourself, you're not going to get there. So, Adele, welcome to the show. Please do share with people more about what you do and your background. And I think they'll be blown away just as much as I was.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited too. So, I am a specialist in neurosomatic integration. What the heck is neurosomatic integration?
Good question.
Yeah, neuro is a nervous system and mind, and somatic is body. And I work on integrating the nervous system, the mind, and the body so that we can be the happiest, healthiest, and wealthiest versions of ourselves possible. And what happens is trauma, I'm going to use this word loosely. It can be significant emotional events that we have in our life, and we all have them. And it doesn't necessarily mean that it's the bad things that happen to us. It can also mean the lack of good things that don't happen to us. So, for example, it can be really traumatizing over and over again if our parents were stressed, depressed, not present, there was some kind of addiction present, if they had trauma or any kind of mental or emotional instability themselves. And we literally learn it by osmosis, and it can create a dysregulation in the nervous system. And it's really important for me to share this message. I've become extremely passionate about it because I was a clinical hypnotherapist and a mindset coach for 15 years, and I've taught yoga for 20 years, come from a well-being background. And I specialized in anxiety, still couldn't get to the bottom of mine, still couldn't get really present and regulated myself until I went on a whole journey and became obsessed of the nervous system and then trained with Gabor Mate in somatic psychotherapy. Really understood that we can't outthink our nervous system dysregulation. And so many of us are behaving from a place of dysregulation, and then we're shaming ourselves for, like, as a businesswoman, not being far enough on, or losing our temper, or becoming dysregulated. And so it's really become my mission to share this message that we don't have to be born in a war zone or to suffer hideous childhood abuse to have these traumas that sit within our nervous system that we simply can't outthink. So I hope that's a little bit brings clarity to neurosomatic integration and what I
Mm.
do.
Thank you,
Wow.
Dale. And you've certainly got that presence and that calm because I've absolutely loved being in your yoga sessions, but also everything else on top of that you brought to the table in the program that I've been on with you. And I think women need to know when they need this, right? So let's just talk about trauma for a moment. Like, when does this show up in our life? Because I think people think that I have to have gone through this significant extreme circumstance for me to class as trauma. Can you talk through what sort of circumstances people might have experienced to kind of feel like actually this is me and this is something I need to deal with?
That's such a good question. Thank you. So I'm just going to go to the first part of that question. I think that in our 20s, we don't have the lived experience to understand that we've got stuff that we need to work on, and we're too busy trying to figure out being an adult. But I think that a lot of the time this manifests either when we have children ourselves, or when we start a business, or when we want to grow our business and we do things, and the way in the behavior it shows up as self-sabotage, procrastination, self-doubt, feeling like we're not got the confidence to be more visible. It may show up as a symptom like anxiety, feeling uncomfortable in our own body. And that can lead to maybe self soothing with alcohol or scrolling or becoming addicted to drama and anxiety. That can be a symptom of it too. And just feeling less than and unworthy and not good enough and like we don't deserve the best in relationship or in business or in wealth or in well-being. And I don't know how this is landing in your bodies as I'm talking about this, but I'm going to invite you. Like, how's this resonating? Is this something that you're going, this is not me, or are you thinking, oh yeah, actually I can really resonate with this? Is this something like, what do you think, girls? What as I'm talking, is this something familiar? Does it resonate? Are you recognizing it in yourself or people close to you?
I don't know who's going first, but I'm going to jump in,
Jump in
as I
then,
always
jump
do.
in.
I think for me, I grew up in a time where my parents were amazing. I was very, very lucky, and I didn't have the things that you mentioned that some children grow up with, and I was very lucky like that. So I think I was brought up in a time where if you feel a bit fed up, you get up, you brush yourself down, you get on with it. So I think that was how I was brought up. I can say, however, most of my life I've been pretty level. Whether that's to do with my growing up, my childhood, I don't know. I'm sure you'll be able to tell me. But I did have one time where my previous job role just went a bit pear-shaped. I loved it all the time. But what I always say to everyone is don't let anybody dull your sparkle. And once they do, it's time to move on, get yourself up, brush yourself down and get on with it. So I think I did go through a bit of an upsetting time at one point in my life that I can say trauma absolutely came to me. I found that I was getting up in the morning still the same and going to the beach, and that's what was getting me through it when I had some time off. But I think everyone is different. And for me, most of the time, I'm pretty level. So I don't have too much of a problem. But, I mean, I speak to people all day, every day, and I hear some really bad stories from people. I have conversations with people and they say absolutely that. So I do hear some horrible stories. But yeah, it's interesting to know what impact that has. But I'll let you go first, Kelly, and then I'll talk all day.
Oh gosh. See, my thing is, so the word itself, trauma, I connect that to people going through really difficult things like being a victim of a bomb situation.
Yeah.
I have been through more things that I could express that would probably make you cry. Things like my husband's children's mother, the violence and the racism and the horrific situations that I've been through with her, and when we got custody of my stepkids, and then to have his own father extort us for money and all the other aggression that we've had. So watching your husband be attacked by the person he had children with before and his own father, and dealing with that for 6 years, I mean, I don't know. I think it's my reaction is normally kind of a warrior kind of thing. So if you're coming at me, I'm going to come at you, and I will keep researching and battling, and that's how we got custody of the kids. I taught myself how to be a family lawyer in 3 months. My childhood was perfect. I had a very, very luxurious in a sense of no drug use, no problems. My parents were lovely. We traveled a lot, very rich and wholesome childhood. But it's just the things that come with external people who really want to kick you when you're down, and I don't let it take over me. So I will fight back, and I will do everything in a legal way and take as much justice as I can get. And again, I will cry about it. I'll whinge about it for months on end, and then dust myself off, and I'll find something else to focus on. But I am addicted to drama. That is one thing.
We all love a bit of drama.
I love drama. And the thing is that's the problem. What I did with the situation, I got myself involved when I didn't need to. So I just got myself involved in going to the court cases and trying to fight for my stepchildren when I should have stayed out of it. And it's just like that addiction to wanting to take over and take control and lead everything when it wasn't really it was their fight between their kids, and I had to place myself in it for some reason. But I don't
Why
feel
doesn't that
traumatized.
surprise me?
I can't help it.
You wanted to help though and be supportive.
It's
It
well,
makes sense.
my husband. I needed to get the children for my husband. They were his kids that were being taken from him by a drug user. I needed to get him his kids, and that's what I achieved without a lawyer. Did it all myself.
Well done.
But I achieved my goal. But at the end of the day, I don't feel bad in myself. I feel like these people have issues, and I've still got my money. I've got my house. I've got my comforts. I don't need to think about them anymore, and I forgive them because that's who they are. They can't change who they are. I don't want to have that dirtiness in my soul, so I wash that now.
That is so important, Kelly, isn't it?
I can't have that. I can't have that damage in me.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
sometimes any feelings that you have, whatever they are, good, bad, or indifferent, they affect your life.
It does. Hold on to it. Those feelings can eat you up. So yeah, I've cleansed of it, and we just move forward. All we can do is book holidays and move forward.
Good girl.
That's it. Yeah, book holidays.
Amazing. Gosh, that's
Yeah.
really like to hear you guys saying that you both had really amazing childhoods. That's so refreshing. I mean, there's always stuff to unpick. Unless you're a non-stressed, non-depressed, attuned, present parent, there's always little things that you can think of where you got your fight from, or what you know, like why justice is so important to you, and like there's always like little places to unravel and like dig up. But it sounds like you two ladies like had an amazing childhood. Wow, like Heather, aren't they lucky? Like,
I know. Well, I mean, I did too. I mean, my parents were great, really. But I think, as Lynn mentioned, it's other people that come in and out of your life, right? Relationships and work. I've had some really negative people that have their own agendas, right? And then they want to take you down. I think reflecting on Kelly's point, you've just got to be able to close the doors and move on. And it's about how to let go. And I think that's where it's important to lean into these programs where you've had people take you down. You can hold on to that unless you get some work on yourself to kind of go, well, actually, how do I let go and move on? And like, I always think about like a little boat sailing in the other direction. I've closed various chapters in my life, various points when you split up with boyfriends and things like that, or I've moved houses and you're like, right, okay, putting that chapter behind, let's go on to the new chapter. But I think you can't just close the door. You can't just close the book. You have to do some healing, which I think is great. Why unpacking everything today just helps people understand, well, actually, what can I do to actually properly let go? Because otherwise we hold it in our body. And part of me, I had chronic sort of health issues for 5 or 6 years. Now that was probably part and parcel of all this negativity building up over time. And actually you've got to be able to work on your body, say deregulate your nervous system to help heal. And a lot of the health issues can be caused by not healing our body and it holding on to all this stuff.
That's really
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah,
And yeah, if I can just add on to that and why that happens, Heather, because what you've just brought forwards is a really, really important and valuable point. And I'm going to say something really controversial here. So sorry if it offends anybody. You're all going, oh my God, what's she going to say?
I'm waiting
We
for it now.
are.
This is
Shock
where
me.
traditional talking therapies and counseling like fall short. Because we can talk about our stuff. It's like I knew stuff what had happened to me as a child. And like I say, because it wasn't like a significant, like, no, like I wasn't, like my parents are still, like Billy loved me. I was never abused by anybody. It's just that I was raised in a pub and my mum wasn't present. My mum drank a lot and my dad worked a lot. And I was just locked upstairs on my own, feeling unloved, unvalued, abandoned. And that then really made me feel completely unworthy as a young woman. Like, and so what happens is there's a word beginning with R that I've been losing all week. It's like I reconciled that with mentally, I kind of going, oh yeah, this happened. It's not my fault. Blah, blah, blah. However, there were certain bits of that resonance that sat in my neurology and sat in the cells of my body. And now here's the thing, as women, like we dismiss and we suppress our emotions. And so it's no coincidence that 80% of people that suffer from autoimmune disease are female. And it's because we literally squash our emotions down. We don't talk about them. We don't allow them to come out. We don't sit with them. And then this, especially the younger generation, we're taught to scroll on our phones, to distract, to have instant gratification. It's like sit with the emotion. Where are we feeling it in our body? Not what is going on in your mind. Like, how is this emotion? How is this experience manifesting into? I had asthma that I healed myself from when I was in my 20s. I was told I couldn't have kids and I have a child. I had IBS in my 30s that I got rid of, and the specialist was like, how did you even do that? What to get tell? And I was like, well, I used essential oils and hypnotherapy. It's when I was training to do my hypnotherapy pro. And it's like everything was sat in my body. It's like, what wasn't I digesting? What wasn't I processing? And I had to go through this internal healing. And so many of us, we all can talk our story. I mean, we're bored of our own stuff, right? Like most of us like, oh my gosh, I've heard the story so many times. I don't even want to talk about my own crap anymore. But the issue is our issues stick in our tissues and it's going to show up some way. So you can reconcile it in your head, like you just said. But then we've got chronic fatigue, or we have skin issues, or we're not digesting stuff, or we're getting heart palpitations and we don't know why. And it's like, well, there's nothing wrong with me. Then what we do is we go to the doctor and we get the symptom medicated. And then because the body hasn't been listened to, it'll knock on the door a little bit louder and give you something else that you go to the doctor and you hit and you get it medicated. So it's suppressed some more. And then we get to our 40s and bits starts dropping off us when the hormone, like literally, it's like your body's going, you're not listening to me. Like, stop. Put yourself first. Drop the medication for a little while. Listen to your own inner wisdom. And I talk about this a lot. And I know, Heather, you've heard me talk, like do a whole workshop on listening to your own inner wisdom. And this is why it's so important to stop giving our power away as women and go, hold on. I need to just go and hold some space for myself and sit in meditation for 10 minutes, or take myself and hug a tree, or walk in nature, or go for a swim, whatever it is for you, and go, what is my body needing? What do I need to feel? What do I need to heal? Because we have to feel it to heal it. But so many of us are like, people are just going and opening a bottle of wine to relax, or going and overworking. And that was like, this is the overworking when I don't unconsciously want to deal with something. I'm working, everybody, I'm working. Like, it's like my therapist was like, oh, okay, well, if this is going on in your relationship, then I can imagine you don't ever want to stop work. I was like, oh, okay. That's really interesting. Like, of course. Oh, I'm busy, I'm working, everyone. And it's like,
interesting.
I'm not immune to this stuff just because I teach it. And as I was just saying before. So it's really interesting, Heather, that you just said you had the health issues. And this is what health issues are. It's us not reconciling our significant emotional events, and we simply suppress them as women. And so that's brilliant a point to actually bring up. So well done. Thank you.
And I suppose I know two people in my life that have the abandonment issues that you just touched on then. And I think seeing it from the other side, and obviously being there to counsel, if you like, when they come to me and want a conversation, which I do tend to get a lot. But what impact does trauma actually have on us? When I'm talking to them, it'd just be nice to hear from you exactly what impact they're getting from having this trauma in their life.
Oh gosh, I mean, it's infinite.
Where to start?
Yeah, I mean, it could. So it could. It's going. The impact is massive, because for me, it impacted as a business owner how much I charged. Like, I felt guilty for taking people's money or asking for money, and then I'd over deliver. So I'd do a session that was meant to be for an hour and I'd be going on for 2 hours, like I would personal boundaries. Oh my gosh, like personal boundaries, like that were non-existent until, like, I didn't even know what a boundary was until I was 40. And so it's like they would be lacking personal boundaries. Their self-esteem would be impacted, which means that shows up in relationships. So relationships, they'll either choose an inappropriate partner, they get mistreated by a partner, or like ended up with a narcissistic abusive partner, something like that might show up. So in business, in relationships, in health, and which again, like your health, money comes and goes, like money's an energy, but our health, our body, people carry extra weight. This is like if people are struggling to lose weight, or they have an eating disorder, disordered eating, this can be impacted by abandonment. And also then I mean, I just had a client now, and she had a similar abandonment piece, which means then in her now new marriage with her stepchildren, she feels like the outsider, and it's really lonely. So then that shows up with her feeling lonely when she should be in those, and I completely resonate with this as well, like being in a room with your family and just feeling like you're completely the odd one out, and you don't belong there.
That must be
And
awful.
and this took a lot of healing, and it's only just recently where I've started to talk about this. Like literally feeling every Christmas I'd sit with my own family and think, who are these people? I don't belong to these people. Like I'm not. I feel so lonely, and it's so like I just felt sad every Christmas, like heartbroken every Christmas, and I didn't know why. So it's also this the way that it would be most impactful, it's the not knowing, like there's something wrong with me. What's wrong? Asking those questions, what's wrong with me, and not knowing why. Like, and this is why where like the emotional neglect is even more challenging, and I'm not gonna like as actual physical abuse, because when you've been physically abused you can go, right, I was battered or something even worse, and there you go, you've got that defining moment where you can say that was a trauma. But when it's like your mum choosing to be out with her friends drinking all the time rather than wanting to spend any time with you, it's so insidious because you can't say this one thing happened to me. And that's the thing, because then you're always in self-doubt. And that's what's really, it's really important for you to share with your friends or for anybody that's listening. It's not your fault. It's not your fault. Stop shaming yourself. Like, can we please give ourselves some compassion, ladies? You amazing women that can bring life onto the planet, that hold the world together. Like, us women are freaking epic. And then we
Absolutely.
spend our lives belittling ourselves, judging ourselves because we might have extra cellulite, or oh, does my bum look big in this? Or, you know, like this judgment.
How many
Like
times
this
have we said that?
judgment. Like, can we please call in some more compassion? But without us realizing where that where and why we felt abandonment, and us understanding that it wasn't our fault, without that bit of knowledge, then it's hard to be compassionate and bring that compassionate into our own hearts and bodies. And then that's where the self-doubt is just so insidious. So yeah, well done for holding space for those friends.
Yeah, no, I think it's important, isn't it? Everyone needs someone. They say a problem shared is a problem halved, or is it the other way around? Something like that. But no, I think you have to give time for people if they're struggling. I think sometimes somebody will say something and it will take the pressure off. So I always think
Yeah.
that's really important.
And the thing is, people won't offload onto a friend necessarily because they don't want to be the one dulling somebody else's sparkle or whatever, which
Yeah,
is why I think it's important to get help and seek the right sort of help. Because otherwise, as a friend, you don't know if you're like, are you saying the right thing or not? You're sharing your opinion, but you're not like, we're not trained right in this stuff like Adele. So I think it's so
Yeah.
important that people seek the right sort of help to make sure that we get it out of our body. Because like it's
Yeah.
interesting about what you're saying about talking, Adele, because I had a counsellor, but then I went and worked with Caroline and obviously yourself,
Yeah.
because it was deeper, and actually talking doesn't always get sort of unearth a lot of this stuff or get it out of our body. So I think it's
Yeah.
really important the types of support and intervention people just understand what's out there, because they don't always know, do they?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's like it is really important. And then what happens is, if people go to counselling, and sorry, apologies if I'm offending anybody who's listening, because counselling can be, it has its place. But a lot of my clients have said, "Oh my gosh, I spent 3 years with a counsellor and I just felt more broken because it felt like I was still having the same issues and I was just talking about the same stuff." And what I do with my clients, I actually teach them like how your brain works, how your neurological pathways work, how your nervous system works. So then they go, oh, okay, that's a chemical thing, that's a cortisol thing, that's an adrenaline thing. I can't outthink that. So I don't need to give myself a hard time over that thing. You can give yourself a hard time if you put a hole in a shirt when you're ironing it. Like, oh God, I'd lost my concentration. Yeah. Forgive yourself, get over it. But like when you're behaving from a nervous system response, because literally your nervous system, the only job it wants to do is keep you alive. It doesn't care if you're happy, healthy, and wealthy. So all of the things that you want to create to bring you joy, to have connection and relationships, to get fit, to get well, if your nervous system's saying, oh, that's really unsafe, your nervous system's going to overpower everything. And so it's so like, as it's like comes from your vagus nerve, it comes from your it's so deep that you can't, it's you're so unconscious that you conscious mind has no idea about that kind of thing.
Yeah, do you know, one of these friends, I'm definitely genuinely going to refer across to you because they've said the exact same thing with their counsellor. So I think it will definitely be worth them having a conversation. So I will send them over. I don't know quite how you how you'll get on with them, but we'll give it a go.
Oh, I love a
Challenge.
I love a challenge. And honestly, I've had so many. I mean, I had a young girl actually that she was only like in her mid-20s, and she lost a parent when she was a child and then got bullied. And she says, I've had 5 different therapists, and because she also did the She Thrives program with me, and she said, and now I understand myself, and I feel so much better understanding. Nobody's ever taught me how my brain and body work before, and now I have that understanding. It makes everything. I can get my head around it because I know it's. I haven't been able to outthink or deep breathe my way out of anxiety before because I've understood that it was something so much deeper.
So you
Yeah.
mentioned the nervous system. I want to try and understand a bit more about the kind of telltale signs and how do you know when it's out of sync and what can you do to kind of realign that in your biology?
Yeah, thank you, Kelly. That's a really good question. So, most people, again, are quite disconnected. They live in their heads and not in their bodies. But your nervous system is, you've got your parasympathetic and sympathetic nervous system without going too sciencey. Your parasympathetic is your rest and digest. That's where you want to be. But you don't want to be where that all the time because you do want a bit of motivation. Do you want a little bit of stress? Otherwise, we'd all be sat doing nothing horizontal, not having any ambition. So your nervous system does fluctuate during the course of the day. But we all know of the word that's quite new of triggered. We can be triggered by even a sound, a raise of a voice, and it may be something really physical like the beating of the heart, the sweating. I don't know if you've ever been to stand up in front of people wanting, like doing a public speaking, or like something stressful's going on. You're like, oh my gosh, I'm really sweaty. That biologically is a sign that your nervous system is, and your heart rate's lifted, and maybe you've gone red in the face, and that's your nervous system pumping all of the blood into your organs so that you can run away because you're in fight, flight,
I was just going
or
to ask that. Is that
freeze.
connected to the fight or
Yeah,
flight?
so it's literally, so this is the thing, and I was just talking to my client about it, wanting to be present with your family, but your nervous system's like, where's the nearest door? I need to get you out of here, need to get you out of here. Being with loud people is too overstimulating, need to get you out of here. And so you cannot physically be present. So it may be what we know as anxiety. It may feel like an inability to focus, to concentrate, your mind being like, I think of it as like a ball of wool that's all jumbled up. And the way I describe it is when we regulate, it's like pulling it all out and rolling it up really neatly. So like not being able to focus, concentrate, being stuck in freeze, where you're not getting stuff done, where you're overwhelmed with everything. That's how you know. And it's very subtle. Like I said, I didn't know that the anxiety that I had in my body, I'd never lived in anybody else's body. So I didn't know that I'd been anxious for such a long time. I just thought that everybody was like this inside, and I masked it as well, like calm on the outside, but people can feel it. So you'll feel as well around certain people that your nervous system, I do this like hand movement, it's like a little glitch in your nervous system, and depending on how resilient you are, like you guys who had a lovely childhood, you have got more internal resilience because your nervous system wasn't dysregulated and you haven't had an attuned parent to hold you, which means that you've got resilience then and a brilliant basis for the rest of your life. So that's when I hear those stories about having a conscious parent, even if you've got one, or a conscious adult, that's amazing. But most people, like, they have a more sensitive nervous system, so a shout of a voice can bring about some anxiety and they want to run out of the room or they'll freeze. And so your nervous system is always on board. It's always alert because it's wanting to keep you alive. But I just want to touch on here is that sometimes you'll be around people and you don't know why, but you feel not at ease. And that's called co-regulation. Now, when we were cave people, the leader of the tribe would have been like looking out for danger, and it was before we had language. So everybody else in the tribe would have been regulated to their nervous system. So when their nervous system dysregulated, everybody else knew that the saber-toothed tiger was coming to like
Wow.
take us out. And so if you've got a leader of an organization, a leader of a business, a leader of a team, a leader of a classroom that's dysregulated, then every single person in that environment, they won't know why, and they don't know why they don't feel completely calm and at ease, but their nervous system is on board going, there's a danger present. We don't know what it is. And therefore, and this is why, like teachers, for example, why aren't teachers taught this? Because if they're anxious and not doing what they need to regulate themselves, which in the teaching environment, it's really stressful, Ofsted and all of that jazz, I can imagine.
There's a lot of teacher stress.
Yeah, I've had a lot of teachers and headmistresses in my coming through my programs and my coaching. But why isn't this taught that a teacher can then dysregulate a whole class full of pupils? And then do you think that they can concentrate? Do you think that they can focus on doing their work? And it's the same in an organization, in a business, in a family.
Yeah.
So it's really important that we all start to become more familiar and check in and just take a few breaths a few times a day and go, how's my nervous system?
I feel like mine's broken though, because for me, I get so heightened at something like if Heather sent me an email saying I need to talk to you, my whole day would go
She'll
into
ring me.
I was going to a meltdown. But I've been taken hostage before by a prisoner at knife point for toilet roll.
Oh my
Wow.
Calm as that did not faze me. I'll handle that situation like a boss. But a simple
I
thing
don't know
of
what to think about
this is
that.
the problem. I think I'm broken. So it's like the panic attacks over things that are so that I know are so mediocre. So I'm thinking, how do I regulate to make myself not react to things that are so small, like overthinking and
It's
just
thinking where
now.
the triggers have come from before, isn't it,
Exactly.
really?
And
Like, because that pattern has come up from something.
yeah, exactly. And so, I mean, Gabor Mate says when somebody tells you that they had a really good childhood, you need to dig into that. So, I mean, now's not the appropriate time. But like, honestly, when somebody says to me, I had a really good childhood, I'm like, what
I
did you?
did. I mean, my dad died of
Or,
cancer, but apart
sorry.
from my dad died of cancer, but apart from that, my
And
childhood
how
was
old were you at that point?
20s, early 20s, 21.
Yeah, you're still at the imprinting. You're at 34, your brain is less malleable. So that's still traumatizing. But even if a teacher shouted at you, even if, something happened and there was a disconnection, there's something going on in there, because if you dysregulate from an email catastrophizing, then there's something that
I
is
told you I'm broken.
even that belief that, I mean, I know you're joking about it now, but like I'd want to unpick all of that. What is it? Like it's like thinking that we're broken. And this is we joke about it as women, but so many of us feel exactly that we are broken. What's wrong with me? We ask ourselves over and over. What's wrong with me? But when are we ever saying what's right with me? How amazing am I today? What did I do well today? What did I achieve today? Rather than going, I didn't do this, I didn't get that done. Oh, I forgot this and made a mess of this, and then I ate cake.
Oh, yeah, quite what you lean on. Absolutely. And I think it's important what you said about being a leader. I mean, I've spent thousands of pounds on different support over the years, because the thing is, when I stepped out, so I brought two general managers in to like lead the teams in the business when I had loads of trauma going on, because I was like, I didn't take a salary. I was like, I've got to step back, right, and do this. And I think as a leader, you've got to know when you need to step out and like take some time out, but also invest in healing yourself, because as a leader, you've got to show up every day and show up to clients and everything else with a smile on your face, right? And if you can't, you just won't make it. Like you said about even showing up and having a business and charging, you can't do it if you're broken. So you've got to be able to sort of put that time and energy into sort of solving those things, but also taking that time out and stepping back or getting other people to lead if you know that you're not quite up for it. Like knowing and navigating that, I think, is really important as a manager or a leader.
Yeah, it's absolutely vital. However, then that circles back, because if there's I call it the worthiness wound. if there's unworthiness going on there, then people need to then feel worthy enough to invest in themselves. Because here's the thing, a woman will feed everybody else in the family before they feed themselves. Like everybody else will come first. I teach people to be the opposite of that. Put your own oxygen mask on first. So many people will be like, oh yeah, I've just paid for my children to go on an amazing skiing holiday, which cost me $3,000, but I won't invest in myself for however many 100 or 1,000 or whatever it is. And that, you're all nodding,
That's
going,
so
oh
true.
yeah, if it comes to our child, oh yeah, we'll invest in them, in their fun, in their growth and their extra lessons. But actually, like, a lot of women feel guilty or shameful about investing money that I feel that's an absolute necessity to invest in our well-being. Because when we feel broken or like that when our cup isn't full, where can we serve from? We can't serve, we can't contribute from an empty space of feeling that way.
Absolutely. Well, we've chatted through so many things, and I think it's so important to say that people know how to access support and know the options. So, Adele, do you just want to share a little bit about how people work with you? I've been to a retreat, I've been on one of your programs. Like, there's lots of different ways that you do interact with people, and how can people reach out to you?
So they can reach out to me via my Instagram, Adele-Marie Coach. I'm pretty active on Instagram. I'm on LinkedIn, Adele-Marie Hartshorn, Facebook, Adele-Marie Hartshorn or Adele-Marie Coaching. And I have something for everybody at the moment. So I've got some low ticket offers I've got a 7-day reset and rise, which is really affordable at £27. And then I've got my She Thrives program, which I love my She Thrives program, which is
Brilliant.
I love that program, which is a whole lesson on how to regulate your nervous system and what happens in a really deep dive. And so that's again something that's a self-serve. And then there's my one-to-one coaching, and then I've got my retreats as well. So I've got offerings depending on what anybody needs at any given time. And I do that for a reason, because some people like to sit at home and do their own meditations and do their own journaling. And then some people want that extra one-to-one as well. She Thrives actually includes, now it changed a little bit. And the videos and the audios and the meditations and the hypnotherapies are all self-serve, but it comes with a therapeutic coaching session at the beginning of the program and one at the end of the program as well. So I know what it's like when you buy an online program and you think, oh yeah, I'm going to do it. But so I do an accountability session. So we have one therapy session at the beginning, and then once people have gone through the program, then they have their second session. So I know that people are not. We know how it is with these online programs. People don't
Really
complete them.
Yeah.
So,
Can I ask one quick question,
course you
just on the
can.
back of that?
Absolutely.
I know that you've talked a lot about She Thrives and females, but you also said that your partner went on a retreat with you. So do you, for people listening that may not be female, do you do coaching for males as well?
Yeah, I had a male client
Perfect.
earlier on. In business, we kind of have to niche ourselves.
Yeah, of course.
And so most of my clients are female business owners and entrepreneurs. However, the men that are open to doing the work, bring them to me,
I will
because
be.
there's nothing more fulfilling than seeing a man have those aha moments when he can show up as a father, as a partner, as a husband. It's so incredible when a man comes to me, because I find it incredibly difficult, because we all get together, we can go out and have a coffee together and we'll all talk, and we'll go home and we'll go, oh, that was so great. Whereas men go to the pub and they talk about F1, or they don't really talk, do they? And they keep it all bottled inside. So yeah, I love working with men, but yeah, so thank you for asking that. Great question.
Thank you, Adele. Well, thank you, Lynn and Kelly, for sharing, and thank you, Adele, for giving us this so much information.
Oh,
I
I
think it's
feel like
really
I've only
valuable.
scratched the surface.
I
We've
know,
covered
but
quickly.
We could have
45
talked all
minutes.
day.
I really want to share more. There's so much more. But no,
I got so
like,
much more as well.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really grateful for sharing this time and space with you. And you know where I am. Ask any questions. I mean, if anybody's listening and they have a question about anything, I always have an open door policy in my DMs, like anything. Nothing, people say, this is a stupid question. Nothing's a stupid question. You don't know. This is not taught in school and colleges and universities. I mean, I'm absolutely want to change that narrative. Like that's my mission, that people should understand about this going through the basic school education. They should understand emotional wellness and nervous system regulation, and how regulating ourselves can create a ripple effect to every single person that we meet energetically. And in one generation, we can change the world.
Absolutely.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you, Adele. Look
Thank
forward to seeing you
you.
soon.
Thank you
Thank
for having
you.
me.
Bye.
Bye.